Good morning. Welcome to CC Week 21 for our Westerville Uptown campus. So, I'm going to do the YouTube version of our new grammar time. So we'll start with math. This week's math is the associative law for addition and the associative law for multiplication. So let's say it all together. Ready? The associative law for addition states, opening parenthesis, A plus B, closing parenthesis, equals A plus, opening parenthesis, B plus C, closing parenthesis. So if it helps, you could do kind of those motions while you say it. And then for multiplication, it's the same thing except for you insert a multiplication sign instead of a plus sign. So the associative law for multiplication states, ready? Your turn. Opening parenthesis, A times B, closing parenthesis, times C equals A times opening parenthesis, B times C, closing parenthesis. All right, let's say it two more times. Ready? The associative law for addition states, let's say it really slow. Opening parenthesis, A plus B, closing parenthesis, plus C equals A plus opening parenthesis, B plus C, closing parenthesis. Say it really fast. The associative law for addition states, opening parenthesis, A plus B, leave it one way or the other, plus C equals A plus opening parenthesis, B plus C, closing parenthesis. And then the associative law for multiplication states, opening parenthesis, A times B, closing parenthesis, times C equals A times opening parenthesis, B times C, closing parenthesis. Micah, zoom in on the board. The way I like to see it, think of it as associative law. First, A associates with B, then B associates with C. Same with multiplication. First, A associates with B, and then B associates with C. So that helps me. There's a song, I think, but I didn't learn that song, but Mrs. Hale has a song, I think. So you could have your mom text her, and maybe she'll send you the song. All right, English. A conjunction is a word used to connect words, phrases, or clauses together. So we'll do this for conjunction. A conjunction, let's all say it together. A conjunction is a word used to connect words, phrases, and clauses together. So let's say it again. A conjunction is a word used to connect words, phrases, what are you doing? And clauses together. Stand me. All right, let's say it well. Maybe you at home can do some kind of form of exercise while you say it, if you want. All right, ready? A conjunction is a word used to connect words, phrases, or clauses together. I bet you could say that with your eyes closed. A conjunction is a word used to connect words, phrases, or clauses together. Got it? I think you got it. You guys are smart. All right, next, Latin. So first conjugation endings, pluperfect tense. When I say pluperfect, I blow out of my mouth. That helps me remember that it starts with the sound air, because blowing air, so aerum. That's how I start. So let's say it together. First conjugation endings, pluperfect tense. Aerum, eros, erat, eramus, eratus, erant. First conjugation, pluperfect tense. And the English is I had Like walked you could put there, or you had walked, or he, she. So it's past tense, ed endings. See these ed endings here? That's what you're saying in Latin here. All right, let's say it again. First conjugation endings, pluperfect tense. Eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratus, erant. First conjugation, pluperfect tense. All right, let's pretend like we're blowing away in the clouds and say it. You go ahead and focus on the board and I'll just sing it. First conjugation, pluperfect tense. Eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratus, erant. First conjugation, pluperfect tense. All right, at home, I think I'm going to give you 1 minute to write this on the board. That's what I do in my class. Write it on a paper. So I'm going to give you 1 minute. Micah, just focus on the words so they can copy if they want. You can have 1 minute to get a pen and paper and write your first conjugation endings, pluperfect tense. Just write this. If you're really fast at writing, you could write the English equivalent, but for now, eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratus, erant. And the A has a macron, and the singular second ending has, and the plural first and second ending have a macron. So Micah, just make sure you're showing them that. Let's give them a minute to write it down. Because in challenge, you will have to write these endings. So it's important to know how to write them. All right, great job. Now we'll go to history. Tell me about the end of the Cold War. This history sentence has a really fun tune that's catchy, but a way to connect the Cold War to the 1980s and British Prime Minister. Maybe think of England in the winter, it's cold. I was born in 1980, so that kind of, I don't know, some connection for me, but why don't we say it and then we'll sing it. Let's just say it together. Tell me about the end of the Cold War. In the 1980s, British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and American President Ronald Reagan worked together to end the Cold War, lessen big government, and strengthen the conservative movement. I'll do some motions and say it one more time and then we'll sing it. So, in the 1980s, it's hard to not say, ooh, British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. I'm just making her initials, M and T. Margaret Thatcher. Micah, just stay further in. And American President, I'm just going to salute Ronald Reagan, 2 R's, and American President Ronald Reagan. And they worked together to end the Cold War, lessen big government, strengthen the conservative movement. All right, don't move the camera because that'll mess it up. All right, so let's sing it together. Tell me about the end of the Cold War. In the 1980s, ooh, British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and American President Ronald Reagan worked together to end the Cold War, lessen big government, strengthen the conservative movement. All right, say it again. Tell me about the end of the Cold War. In the 1980s, ooh, British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and American President Ronald Reagan worked together to end the Cold War, lessen big government, strengthen the conservative movement. Okay, now at home, take a minute to let you and your mom decide what kind of voice you want to sing it in, or loud, or soft, or dance around. So I'm going to give you guys at home just an opportunity to do something fun that you want to do with a history sentence. Your mom might make you close your eyes. Go ahead. Just keep it on the let them see the words. All right, let's move on to science. Bring it in close, so just don't zoom in because the picture doesn't look good. Okay, so science is, what is the third law of thermodynamics? The third law of thermodynamics explains that it is impossible to reach the state of absolute zero temperature. So what is the third law of thermodynamics? The third law of thermodynamics explains that it is impossible to reach the state of absolute zero temperature. So you could try to reach up, but it's impossible to reach absolute zero temperature. What is the third law of thermodynamics? Maybe you could all get up now from if you're sitting down, get up and march around and say it. What is the third law of thermodynamics? The third law of thermodynamics explains that it is impossible to reach the state of absolute zero temperature. So if you marched around, maybe try doing push-ups while you're saying it. See if you can do that. What is the third law of thermodynamics? You can just look at the words, Micah. The third law of thermodynamics explains that it is impossible to reach the state of absolute zero temperature. All right, now that you're out of breath with your push-ups, we'll give you a little break and do geography because that's not hard. So get your map. I'm sorry, I didn't have the map ready. Did you use it last, Micah? Oh, it is here. Great. Okay, South America. Let's go to week 21, Central America. Now, in your book, I think it says Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua. But I'm going to put Belize first because I know a song that starts off with Belize. So why don't we sing the song and then we'll find where the countries are on the map in Central America. So Central America, week 21. Just focus on the words, Micah. Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua. And then it keeps going for the next weeks. So that's that tune of, you might recognize the tune, but it's, let's sing it again. Ready? Geography, Central America. Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua. And then it keeps going for the rest of the weeks. We can learn the rest of the song. Or Mrs. Dreyer might have a different song too. So maybe one will connect better than that for you. So let's look on the map here. And it's expanded here for you to see. So let's first look at the all right, there we go. Okay, there's Belize right here, Guatemala right here, El Salvador is very small right down here, Honduras is pretty large area, Nicaragua. So Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua. Now let's go to the black line. Turn with me to the black line. Maybe you can grab if you have a wet erase marker, you could mark it with that. All right, so Belize, I'm not saying it right. Should have prepped this. Oh yeah, okay. Belize is right here. So Belize has a flat line there. Belize, Guatemala, Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua. Let's switch it up. Nicaragua, Honduras, find Honduras, point to Honduras, point to El Salvador, Point to Guatemala. Point to Belize. Point to Honduras. Point to El Salvador. Point to Belize. Point to Guatemala. And point to Nicaragua. All right. One more time on here. Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua. And one last time on the black line. Let's do it one more time. Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua. And there you go. All right. We're just left with timeline. Super easy. World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Stalin, and then you keep your hand up here if you want. I'll just show you the motions I use. Most of you have this already down. Stalin of the USSR and the Katyn Massacre. The United Nations formed. United Nations formed. The Cold War. Gandhi and India's independence. Jewish state established. So the Jewish state coming together. Jewish state established. Mao and communist victory in China. All right. So you can just look at me and we'll go through the timeline. Just stay here. All right. World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Stalin of the USSR and the Katyn Massacre. The United Nations formed. The Cold War. Gandhi and India's independence. Jewish state established. Mao and communist victory in China. World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Stalin of the USSR and the Katyn Massacre. The United Nations formed. Cold War. Gandhi and India's independence. Jewish state established. Mao and communist victory in China. Could do a V. Victory in China. All right, maybe at home, why don't you take the cards, switch them up, see if you can get them in order in 15 seconds. I'm going to count. Ready, set, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Did you get it? All right, I hope you did. Okay, let's sing it again. World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Stalin of the USSR and the Katyn Massacre. The United Nations formed. Cold War. Gandhi and India's independence. Jewish state established. Mao and communist victory in China. And I know y'all want to say North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Okay, last time, and I think we're done. Micah, did I miss anything? Okay, all right. World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Stalin of the USSR and the Katyn Massacre. The United Nations formed. Cold War. Gandhi and India's independence. Jewish state established. Mao and communist victory in China. I miss you guys. I really wish we could be in person together, but stay safe. And I'm so glad that you're keeping up with your CC review, and I can't wait to see you again. Hopefully a lot of you will be working hard at Memory Master. All right, bye.